Hey y'all, today's guests are Andrew Bennett, co-founder of Jezus Factory Records, and Rudy Trouvé, musician and founder of the Heaven Hotel record label. This conversation was super unique. It focuses very heavily on the music scene in Antwerp, Belgium, where Rudy is based, and Andrew's label, Jezus Factory, releases a lot of music from artists based in Belgium. It was so cool to learn about a scene that I had no idea existed, yet it has been thriving underground for decades. As always, if you want to support what we do, you can do so at tapeclub.substack.com. All right, here's my conversation with Andrew and Rudy. I've got Andrew Bennett and Rudy Trouvé. Guys, thank you for coming on the show. Another international one. We've been doing international ones lately, and this one is no different. I think, Andrew, you are in the UK, I believe, and Rudy, you are in Belgium. Is that correct, y'all?
That's correct.
Yes, we're getting nods from across the board.
Yeah.
So, Andrew, why don't we start just with a quick little intro for each of you, so listeners and viewers can place a face and a voice to what you do. So Andrew, tell me a little bit about Jezus Factory Records.
Right, so I'm Andrew, and I co-founded Jezus Factory Records literally 20 years ago to almost a date. I can't remember the date, but we started out as essentially releasing a project from Rudy, Craig Ward and Mauro Pawlowski. That was the kind of first thing that we had planned. And yeah, it's been a blur of, we've also done some UK bands as well, but mainly we're focused on the Belgian Antwerp stuff. I've got to say, probably a lot of the aesthetic and ideology is potentially a bit of a rip-off of Heaven Hotel, but we'll come to that. So, yeah.
Well, that's a great segue. So, Rudy, tell me a bit about Heaven Hotel and about kind of tell the listeners a little bit about yourself.
In 1991, I lived together with a bass player and a drummer. And they were also into arts, and we lived in an old brothel, and we named the place Heaven Hotel because I liked stuff like the factory and the pink house, and it was a name we used for expositions and video stuff and cassettes. And then in 1992 I joined Deus, and they got really big. And when I left in 1995, I had some money, and we started releasing albums.
And so Deus, of course, is a Belgian band from there. I don't know if they're still around, but they obviously, like you said, are from the 90s. And for people who may have caught that factory part, that is a kind of a homage to Andy Warhol. I think Andy Warhol had the factory concept, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the idea was sort of like, here is a space for artists to come and experiment and build and create whatever they could create, right?
Exactly.
Let's go ahead and start right there, I guess. What were some of the wildest things that you saw there? Because I imagine the early 90s, it's just a different time, you know, like there's no risk of someone like filming some crazy shit and putting it on social media and it going nuts. So can you tell me about some of the memories from Heaven Hotel that stand out?
Well, we were into art, drugs, and alcohol. So one day there was somebody in the kitchen beneath the table, and we kind of studied them. And then we thought, like, maybe it's somebody who knows someone and he's freaking out on acid or something like that. Afterwards, we realized we were robbed. It was a burglar. And another time, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, because it was a very open door policy, right? People were coming and going. So you were just like, oh, this is probably a friend of a friend. And it was just a thief.
Yeah.
What was the other time you were going to say?
I was reading this magazine, and there was like a whole story about a footballer, a soccer player, who had a coke traffic thing going on, and he was just released out of jail, and it was an interview with him. And then the doorbell rang, and the guy was asking about a mutual friend, which was kind of bizarre.
It's a small world, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
And then footballers, they never change. I mean,
No.
there are still plenty of them trafficking cocaine everywhere, right?
No.
So it's no surprises there. Andrew, I want to come back to you. So you mentioned this connection with Belgium. Tell me a little bit about how that connection with Belgium and Jesus Factory formed, and also how did you meet Rudy? Do you remember like how you guys met?
Yeah, well, the Belgian connection thing was essentially that Deus and Evil Superstars had some kind of minor success in the UK, and that kind of there was a kind of core few of us who were really into that, and it was also coincided with the kind of infancy of the internet, and obviously because of the core when Deus started, obviously with Rudy and Steph, you know, that kind of, and then later Craig Ward, those kind of distinct characters or musical characters had so many other projects that was there was a whole world to explore. You know, I remember buying one of, you know, Rudy's Gorslot albums. You know, I bought it in HMV. You know, there was a kind of relative amount of success where you could actually find, you know, success. You know, things were able to find, and there was a lot of kind of message boards, and that was the real early days of the internet. I didn't even have the internet. You have to go to a cafe or whatever but you could just find out about this whole kind of world. And I think that the music, why it resonated so much with me was, I was bored of what heavy metal was becoming in the 90s. And that these guys, there's a real, I think the thing about Belgian music is it's as informed by jazz as it is rock music, whereas rock bands or English and American rock bands certainly historically were always influenced by other rock bands more. Actually, I feel like I'm contradicting myself slightly, because if you think Black Sabbath had a real jazz thing, but I'm talking about in the 90s, there was a very rockist thing, and these guys had a complete different sensibility. And with the way they collaborated with each other, and the way they still collaborate with each other, that is very much it. And also a lack of interest in commerciality as well. How I discovered how I started Jesus Factory was, I was writing for a magazine, and the Love Substitutes, which was a band with Rudy, Craig Ward, Mara Pulowski and Bert Lenartz, they were playing a couple of shows in the UK, I think Wimbledon and Scotland somewhere. And I sent some flyers to this record shop in Camberley, the Rock Box, and these other two guys couldn't believe that, one, the Love Substitutes were playing in the UK, and two, that somebody else knew who they were and was sending them flyers. And they rang me up, and they got hold of me. I don't know how they got hold of me, but they did. And that was John and Jerry, and they said, we want to put something out from Mauro, Rudy, and Craig, and the rest is in it. And we did so, and managed to convince them to that we were legitimate enough to allow that to happen, and the rest is history. And John and Jerry probably had had sense, and they gave up after a while, and then it was just me on my own. But ironically enough, in the 20th year, Jerry's now hit 50, and he's kind of made a bit of a slight return, and actually wants to wants us to reissue the two Love Substitutes albums. So it's a bit of a full circle thing.
Yeah, that's an amazing kind of that's amazing how it kind of comes back to itself.
Yeah.
I like that you mentioned the jazz influence in Belgian rock and like the lack of commercial interest. I think we will get into that in the mixtape for sure, because there was stuff that I was picking up listening to it. It's all very interesting stuff. Rudy, do you have any memories of when you met Andrew and how you got introduced to Jesus Factory?
Vaguely. I must say my brain is a mess, but I recall these Love Substitute gigs, and we got talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before that was probably Dead Man Ray, might have been one of the first times. Dead Man Ray in London.
That's possible, yeah. We did one gig in London, yeah.
Yeah. That might have been that, or I don't know.
Rudy, you have a very vast catalog and you explore a lot of different styles in your music. So I have a kind of a question about how does your approach change when you are doing something experimental or more improvisational versus more straight ahead traditional work? Do you put yourself in different mindsets? Like, how do you approach those different styles of work?
Basically, it has a lot to do with the chemistry between the people. I'm a very limited guitar player, so it all kind of falls and stands with the people you work with. So I don't really have a specific mindset. It just comes as it goes.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I feel like I'm kind of the same way, where I just want to create the things. Well, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but for me, I want to create the things and then move on to the next ideas. It's very rare that it's very rare that I will spend like years refining one song. How do you feel about like perfectionism? Do you like to refine the song and really nail it, or are you sort of go with the flow and just kind of keep creating?
I have a very distinct idea of what the end result is supposed to be. And sometimes it's done in 20 minutes. And sometimes it takes a year, and there's absolutely no difference in the listening experience.
But is it really like you have a vision of the end result, or is it just sort of when you get there? Because I feel like, again, just part of my process is always discovering what's going to happen. And when you play with other players, sometimes they'll play something and you're, oh, I didn't think about that. That's actually really cool. But you said you have like a vision of where it's going.
Yeah, but at the same time, not. But I distinctively know when it's done, when we're there. And if we're not there, and I see the possibilities of it becoming something interesting, I keep on pursuing until I'm there. And sometimes that takes a lot of time. Mostly it comes rather quickly, but.
What's your preferred way to work? Do you like to write by yourself and then bring things in and then show them to people and have them expand on them? Or do you like to just get a bunch of people in one place and improvise? Do you have a preferred way of working?
No, all systems go. I mean, every way is okay. I've done it all. And every way is okay.
What about when it comes to like engineers and producers and stuff like that? Are there certain people who you creatively tend to gravitate towards and work with again and again?
Well, there's a couple of friends I'm used to working with, so yeah, often work with them, but often produce stuff myself and mix it myself because it's cheap. And yeah, then again, every system works.
Are a lot of those folks who you just mentioned, are they somehow involved with Heaven Hotel or with Jesus Factory or with both? How much intermingling is there between the two projects, between the two labels?
There's a lot of intermingling because uh, we released a couple of albums with Andrew, and he knows the people, and we know Andrew. So yeah.
And then, Andrew, tell me a little bit about how do you discover artists? I feel like 20 years of Jesus Factory. In 2006, you discover artists a very different way than you might in 2026. Is your inbox full of demos and people who want like you to do something, or how are you finding artists?
I do get quite a lot. I mean, I was just going to get, sorry, I'm backtracking. You are Taisha, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, Rudy, but his mastering, he masters so much of our stuff. He's got a real, that kind of, and he doesn't engage in those loudness wars. So anyway, sorry, I've gone off the question. But in terms of me looking for stuff, I'm really not. That is the real thing, because these guys are so prolific. If I break down things like let me just say, for example, like the Love Substitutes, and then Craig Ward did A Clean Kitchen is a Happy Kitchen, which is a real noise rock band, and then from that, the bass ended up releasing the bass players band Grand Blue Heron, which then became Harvesters, and then you got Boots and Zeller. I released his solo album, and then he's in 1,000 bands, and then now he's working with Clute, who I also released. And then Rudy and Clute did a cassette together. It's just. I'm not looking for people, because these guys are, there's so much stuff. And not only that, I mean, I've lost my train of thought now.
But in terms of discovering new people who maybe aren't connected, or in some way, a degree removed, that rarely happens, right? I imagine it's always within a degree.
It's very rarely. I mean, there was a time when there were certain UK bands that there was some really exciting stuff happening in London with Paul Hawkins, David Cronenberg's wife, Extradition Order, and those guys I ended up working with. I mean, David Cronenberg's wife's actually on the latest thing that we've released. So they're. But that was kind of that was actually by accident. That was we went to see actually the Brazen Hussies, who is the most recent release, which is a tribute to this really ultra obscure UK band that my friend happened to also be in. We were going to see the girl out of Brazen Hussies, Lou's new project, and that's how we discovered this other little scene, it was kind of in some senses similar to the Belgian thing. So yeah, I mean, I guess that I still get a lot of emails with people wanting to do stuff, but I've got to admit I'm that far in that I've got my niche of what I do, and people expect. The few people that care about what Jesus Factory do expect a certain thing, and I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to autistically stick to what I've done, because I'm too far in. There are points where I was releasing loads of stuff. There were points where I slowed down. There were points where I thought of quitting. I think I've come around the other side where I'm almost thinking of this as a hobby to do in retirement. To just you go so long. I think a lot of the what's kind of driven me is, and I'm sure Rudy will. It was there's obscure, and then there's not reaching maybe the audience that I would have. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying I wanted commercial success for Rudy. I just want the respect to be there, and I think that's me pushing that side of things. I maybe have a bit less dignity in terms of trying to push stuff forward than those guys. So I think that's what drove me is really loving the music and wanting at least more people to get the chance to hear it. And I don't know how successful I've been in that, but it is what it is. It is what it is. And I think some things might not have got released if I hadn't have stuck my oar in so much.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's what I think as an artist, that's what you look for in a label, is someone who believes in you and wants to champion you, not someone who sees you as an investment or like a quick, a quick buck, basically, I guess. Not that there's any bucks left in music, whatever, but like, I do think that it's really great. It's a really, it's admirable that you have put in 20 years of like championing artists who you really believe in and really love. I have a clip here that I found, a snippet from an interview from 2011 that you did with a place called Bearded Magazine. And they asked you, how has your job changed since you started? And you said, we started just over 5 years ago, which isn't really that long, but in music, it could be an eternity. And now it's 20 years, which is much more of an eternity. One thing that I thought was interesting is at the end of that, you said, when we started, people actually took notice of MySpace and we managed to reach a lot of people this way. But now, of course, we live in an age of Facebook, Twitter, and Bandcamp, and it's a constant battle to keep trying to represent the label on all of these different social networks. Now, 15 years since that interview, are you still fighting that battle? And this is a question for both of you. Like, how much do you care about all of the social media and all of digital distribution and everything? Or is it more like, fuck that, I'm over it, I'm just doing it for the art? So, Rudy, I guess I'll start with you. Like, what are your feelings on the current state of music distribution and self-promotion?
Well, in a way, it's getting more democratic, but at the same time, sales are non-existent these days. And I must say, I use Instagram and I use Facebook as much as possible, but that's about it. I mean, we don't depend on it. Most sales are live these days. It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. What do you think, Andrew? Like, in terms of, what Jezus Factory does when it comes to promo and digital and stuff like that?
Well, I think because I'm in the UK and most of the stuff's going on in Belgium, I kind of do use Facebook and Instagram, mainly just those. But it builds I think it builds some kind of sense of community. I do think the Jezus Factory group and the Facebook page and the Instagram, it's a kind of, I try and be, I just try and support stuff really as much as possible and get people interested. If it makes a few people take notice, then it's great. But you can, it's destructive really, isn't it? You can kind of disappear into it if you're not careful of looking at numbers and likes and I mean, the thing is, it's kind of, in a lot of ways, it's, before you were saying, please buy my record, please buy this record. I mean, I'm clearly still saying, please buy this record so we can make another record. Because that, I mean, I've hit rock bottom a few times where I've ended up having to, we've had no money and I've had to stop, I've had to say no to things, or then I've had to just try and self-fund something to keep it going. And, it's changed from please buy my record to now it's even like, please listen to the record for free on Spotify. And I think I've kind of, it's and a lot of Rudy's the back catalogue. I'm always talking to Rudy and Elko about that. You know, a lot of the back catalogue is completely out of print and not on Spotify. So there's a real stuff that's lost, and I think about that a lot, bit too much. If I'd love to win the lottery so I could reissue the whole Heaven Hotel back catalogue. And that's why Jerry, that's why I go back to the Love. He decided, I want to release the Love Substitutes album. Ask Rudy if we can do it. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, a common thread through a lot of these answers has been related to commercial, appeal maybe, and that is an ever evolving thing. I think for as long as I've been into music, it feels like there's never been a way to like make a living doing music unless it's like striking the lottery, right? So commercial stuff is always a slippery slope. It's tricky, but critical stuff is one thing I would like to ask a question about before we go to the break. So this is for both of you. Maybe we'll start with Rudy on this one. Do you care about critical reception to your music? Meaning, do you read any sort of reviews or care like what people say about it? I guess I don't know how many blogs are really still writing about stuff, but there was like this golden era in the 2010s where blogs were writing about things. And me as an artist, egotistically, I always love reading the reviews because I'm like, oh, I want to know what you thought. Like, tell me. But how do you feel about it, Rudy? Do you care about a critical perception?
Yeah, I care as well. And I'm always interested in seeing how they perceive things. And I care.
Yeah. Are there any specific times that stood out to you, maybe with any past critical reception? Maybe someone did a great, like really understood the thing you made, or maybe opposite, someone really just didn't get the thing you made.
No, both of them happened, but the 90s, there you still could sell CDs, and with the money of the CDs, make new CDs. And there we had a lot of press. With Garslet, there was a lot of raving British press and stuff like that. But one review that really stood out was for the first Kiss My Jazz album. That was the Russian Playboy. We got 4 bunnies. That was nice.
Hell yeah, 4 bunnies. I hope that this interview gets 4 bunnies. I want the J card to get 4 bunnies. What about you, Andrew? Any particular thoughts on the current state of music criticism, or do you even care about critical perception at all?
Yeah, I really do, because I do all the promo for Jesus Factory, and I think when I release something, I think at least if I can't sell records, I can get some journalists to like it, and that one of my favorite ones is getting good reviews in Record Collector, which I've hit. That's a kind of jackpot one for me, because that's the kind of target audience, really. So I always do care about getting good reviews, or bad ones. I care about getting reviews. I'd rather get a load of crap reviews than not at all. So yeah, it's definitely.
I was gonna say it's interesting to hear that y'all both care, like that you do care, because I think it's very cool. Like, musicians are very cool sometimes, and they're like, oh, I don't care, man, I don't even read the reviews. And it's like, yeah, you do. I know you do. We all do, right? Yeah, go ahead.
I think I was going to say, I think there's a lack of bad reviews now. It used to be, I used to read things, and if, this is before the internet, you'd read something, and I think if it's really that bad, it might be interesting. I think now there's very much, you don't get so many bad reviews that really slate something, because I don't know if people are afraid or people are afraid of the advertising. If it's a big band, don't give them a bad review, because the magazine won't get the advertising revenue. Remember, these guys are also struggling as well. So that kind of, and a lot of the reviews sometimes are like a just regurgitation of the press release. And you can tell, sometimes you can tell they've not really listened to it, or. But
yes, that is a very, very common thing. That's why the press releases exist, is to fucking get a magazine through a slow week, I guess. But
yeah.
and
And I know that I will mention, I've gone, as I say, my dignity has got less as my desperation, maybe not desperation, but before, I know that reference in the past of like, oh, Rudy was in Deus, and maybe I wouldn't necessarily have been so much to say that in the past. Now I'm like, yeah, will say that, because if that gets it through the door where somebody's actually going to listen to it, then that's good enough.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I will say about that criticism, the lack of negative criticism, I guess, these days, it's just mostly, I think, because like the state of music as a like way to make a living is so dire. And same with journalism. Journalism is like in dire straits as well, that it's like, why people don't want to waste time like punching down almost. It's like, yeah, we're all like suffering. Why write something negative? I think those bigger acts are the ones who are the easiest to criticize. But also, like I said, I've never made money from any of this shit, so I don't fucking know. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to get into the mixtape. All right, we are back with the mixtape, and today's mixtape, we got two guests, so each one picked 3 tunes. We're going to go kind of one by one, so we'll do one of Rudy's, then one of Andrew's, but before we get into it, any particular themes that y'all had here? Andrew, any particular theme with your 3?
To be honest with you, absolutely not. Just a random guess. Yeah.
Love it. And then Rudy, any themes with your 3?
I chose 2 songs from the most recent things we released. And then I chose Greater Loss Than Pain, because it's the first song I wrote where I was really satisfied with.
Okay, so let's start with that one. The band is Kiss My Jazz, and the song is, like you said, A Greater Loss Than Pain. So tell me a bit about that tune.
It was a love song. I mean, I was in bands for years and years, but most of the music I made was kind of shit. And then interesting sometimes, and then I had my heart broken in a real profound way, and that really helped. I owe that girl a lot of royalties, actually. And then I made that song.
So what was the process like behind writing it? Because usually a lot of people say like with some songs, they just come really easily and they just flow out naturally. Was this one of those, or?
It was one of those. Once I had my heart broken, it all came fluidly. And
then is that a tune that you still kind of play to this day? When was it? When was it written?
Was released in 95, but written in 91, I guess.
And then do you still kind of play it to this day, or have you retired that one?
I retired that one.
Yeah, and did you retire it because of the subject matter, or
no.
Why is it retired?
Just, I don't know, I kind of forgot about it, of so many songs, so it slipped away.
Well, we gotta have like, you gotta bring it back, bring it back and shout out the J Card podcast next time you play it. Let's listen to a little bit of Kiss My Jazz with the song A Greater Loss Than Pain.
Perfect script we wrote, it's never been printed. And all the promises we never made, they didn't keep now.
Moving on to Andrew's first pick, Plano Remoto with Leona. Tell me a bit about this one.
Well, this shows you the Jesus Factory the way. So this is a guy, Miguel Souza, who he's Argentinian, but he was part of this whole Antwerp scene. And cut a long story short, he had a band, Cassini Division. He's also been in I Hate Camera with Rudy, and several others. So we released a band of his called Strumpets, we released both of their albums, and they were really excellent albums. Criminally ignored, but they're very kind of, I guess they're a bit Syd Barrett-esque, but maybe a bit more together, essentially, but that kind of whimsical stuff. I think he had to go back to Argentina, so the rest of those guys did a band called Angels Die Hard, which obviously came out on Heaven Hotel. We think we co-released, or at least one of them anyway, so that they've released 3 albums. And then I released some more Cassini Division albums. So since he's been in Argentina, he's been very prolific, and this is one of the bands that he did. But it's a return to that psychedelic poppy stuff of Strumpets. Also, the drummer of sorry, I'm going on and on. The drummer of Strumpets was also in a band. He had his own project called Wilder Wolves, and I put out both of those albums. And he's actually recently approached me to say that there may well be a third one coming. So that's just one story that I could bore you with many others, but that's I just chose that song at random, and that's the big backstory to it. So yeah.
Have you ever been in the room and seen that one played live?
No, because he's in Argentina, and it's only ever been played live in Argentina. So
all right, well, it's about time for a trip, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
I guess.
You gotta go to Argentina. Eat some really good steak over there. I think that's what they have.
I'm vegetarian though.
Oh no, you can't even eat the steak. Yeah, well, can you drink the wine? Maybe they have wine. I could drink the wine. Yeah. As long as you can do something, you have to participate. Let's listen to a little bit of Plano Remoto with the song Leona. Next up, a Rudy selection. It's Pasmans with Second-Hand Clothes. Tell me a bit about this one, Rudy.
It's about being young, buying second-hand clothes because you don't have the money for new clothes, and especially because you think it's cool to find funky outfits and blah blah blah, and taking drugs, drinking a lot, beating at 2 o'clock at night to go out at 4 o'clock because clubs are free entrance then, and stealing drinks, that kind of stuff. And also the fact that entertainment was kind of hard work, because in a week you had like 2 boring nights, 2 occasion nights, maybe 2 magical nights, 1 terrible night. So you had to be there always to get to the magical nights.
Yeah, you kind of have to go through the boring nights to get there, right?
Yeah.
With this tune, so tell me, is this one that is this your tune? Like you
I
wrote
made
this?
it, yeah.
Okay. So when you write, do you start usually with lyrics, or do you make music first and then kind of fit words to it? This one, it sounds like you had a real message, so you must have started with the words, right?
I started with a riff, and the rest came kind of fluently.
Is that generally your style? Like you just start with the
I
music,
use
or is
every style possible. Everything that works for me. I mean, I have no preference. Sometimes it's totally sounds like, and then later I fill in the lyrics, or I do whatever comes to mind.
yeah? I mean, that's the mark of a true artist. Just kind of doing whatever, just rolling with it, going
Yeah.
with the flow. Tell me a bit about the last time that you played this one, like played it live.
I do solo sets and also in duo sets with Elko Blijweert. So I play it kind of often. I played it like 14 days ago, and tomorrow I will play it again.
Okay, so this one is not retired at all. This
It's
one
not
is like
retired.
in the repertoire for sure.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's listen to a little bit of it. Here is Pasmans with Second Hand Clothes. Next up, we have a song by Rudy Trouvé called Torch. Andrew.
It's sorry,
Oh,
I was confused.
Rudy, it is your song, but Andrew
Heard my name, I totally freaked out.
Andrew, tell me a bit about why you picked Torch. And
Well,
also feel free to lob any questions to Rudy if you have them.
Well, this was from the second Pulowski Trouvé Ward album. I really like this song. In an alternate universe, it's a hit. It's got it's in my mind, bit of a Jesus and Mary Chain vibe. Really noisy guitars, lovely melody. It's an excellent song. Yeah, I was going to say, where are you playing tomorrow, Rudy? Where's that?
Tomorrow I play with I8 Camera in Edegem, but it's the day after. I'll do a solo set in Antwerp in the Bos.
Brilliant.
How frequently are you playing out, Rudy, these days?
Couple of times a month, 4, 5, 6 times a month.
That's a lot. That's a shitload. I feel like that's like so. I don't know. I'm just not I don't like going on stage. So for me, I'd be very stressed out the whole time.
I like playing live, so I don't like touring, but I like playing live.
Yeah. Andrew, so Torch is a tune that has the name Rudy Trouvé attached to it, not one of the many other projects. What's your tell me a bit about the difference for you, at least as a listener, between some of Rudy's different projects. Like when you see the name Rudy Trouvé on it without a different band or a different attachment to it, what do you think you're about to get? Like what makes it distinct for you?
Well, I think it's with the solo stuff, it's probably a lot more introspective and more pared down. With the Septet stuff, it's obviously more of a full band affair. But I guess there's a kind of certain similarity between the solo stuff and the Septet stuff. But I mean, with the different bands, there's a real distinct kind of flavor. You know, like if I think of like Tape Cuts Tape, that was a really different kind of approach. I guess a bit more can and electronic music. So there's a you know, and then I Hate Camera is a different. Completely different thing with the improvisation. Then you've got maybe the Love Substitutes, or and also Gorslat, which I guess has got more of a pavement-y type thing going on. But then I'm selling the Love Substitutes short because the second album was so folky. There's
I was going to say the range is really impressive. And yeah, go ahead.
The range is very impressive, but you can also always tell Rudy's guitar style and vocal style is very distinctive. I loved those Pasmans albums, and I was just blown away that second one just appeared because I had no idea. And I know it was recorded quite a while ago, but I was just that really pleased me. So I was just going to say, Rudy, like some of your solo sets, I'd love it if some of those were recorded because I would definitely put one out. I definitely would release one if it were,
I'll try to comply.
Yeah, that would. I mean, we've got a running joke. Well, it's maybe a running joke for me. I think once I was round Elko's flat and he played me. You know what you're gonna. I think Rudy knows what I'm gonna say. It was Rudy and Elko doing some Paul Di'Anno era Iron Maiden in a Kraftwerk style, but the tape had become, or the audio had become really corrupted, and it sounded underwater. It sounded like it was underwater. I don't know what happened to it, but it's a running joke of me saying if we re-recorded that, and I'd love to put it out. Especially, I think the other thing we're not saying is Rudy is a great painter. His artwork is extremely distinctive and brilliant, and I've got this weird fantasy of him doing of them two doing that and releasing it as an EP with Rudy's art. But it's a kind of running joke. You're so busy. I think a lot of the time I'm like that annoying little brother really thing. I think I'm as I say, I'm a lot less dignified, but I don't. As you get older, I don't care.
Look, I'm just glad that we witnessed a deal happen that the next Rudy Trouvé solo work is going to be on Jezus Factory. It's locked.
Well, I'm not. I'm just saying if he wants to do a live album, I don't want to steal it. I'm not stealing his.
It's a live, yeah. No, it's of course that's a live recording. But look, the deal is done. It's right here. It has been done. Unfortunately, that's how it is. I'm sorry, Rudy. You're locked in. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Let's listen to a little bit of Torch by Rudy Trouvé.
Carry a torch for you, but it doesn't shine as bright as it used to.
Next up, Rudy, this is your selection. I think this is your last selection of the three. The Rudy Trouvé Septet with Not Available. So this kind of goes back to what we were talking about, right? The multiple projects. Tell me a bit about the Septet and how that came to be.
I made a solo album, but with a lot of guest musicians in 2002, I guess. And so when I wanted to play live, I wanted to have some people I'm used with working with. So it became a quintet. Second album became a sextet. Third album a septet. And then we kept it with a septet. I always see these bands as a sort of mixtapes. And some stuff goes fluently together, works out very well. Some stuff doesn't. So they're all the bands I'm in are kind of different mixtapes.
That's a very interesting way to think about it. It's like, yeah, they're their own projects with their own voices, kind of.
Yep.
I think the septet idea is so cool, but it must be. How hard is it to get people together and to kind of arrange all of those voices in one room in like a cohesive fashion that works? Is there ever any struggle with trying to
No, works kind of they're very talented musicians and goes kind of naturally. And they surprised me a lot with the arrangements and the stuff they come up with. So no problem. And also, I work with these people for ages, so no problem.
When you have 7 people playing together like that, is it do the songs generally like naturally the forms have to get longer because everyone kind of gets their part? Does everyone get like solos generally, or is it sort of like, sorry, this song you're just not really playing that much, or or this person really shines on this song? What's the difference like trying to balance out people's roles?
Everybody is really involved in the end result, and they care about the end result, and they have no huge ego. They're not that kind of musicians. They have egos, of course, but they really look for the end result. And if one note is a fine contribution, then it's one note. That's
a great way to look at it. Sometimes the best contribution is like a small phrase that's like 3 notes, and you rewind the song just to hear it again, so that's it's well said. Let's listen to a little bit of Not Available by the Rudy Trouvé Septet.
Full focus and your attention too, but it will never.
And finally, the last track for you, Andrew, is by Benny Zen, and it's called Forgot More Than I Ever Knew. So tell me a bit about this one.
Okay, so Benny Zen, I released their first album. He used to be in a band called Nemo, and I put out the first album. It's a really brilliant album in my opinion, and they went on to do several more, which is great. With probably maybe slightly better label, or which is what I'm happy for. It's really good. But cutting back, they had a bit. I think they had about an 8-year gap, and then they've recently put out a new album. But coming back to the point that I'm actually trying to make is that this is from the most recent Jezus Factory release, Sleep It Off, which is a tribute to the Brazen Hussies, that obscure UK band with a Canadian singer. And Rudy did the artwork, and funnily enough, Rudy and Benny Zen both, probably unbeknownst to each other, chose the same song. So we put that out as a double A-side. And again, it's like coming at Benny Zen after all those years. It's really nice that I could just message him, getting on for 20 years, and then he's like, do you want to record it? Yeah, sure. And it is what it is. And
yeah, I mean, it makes sense. There's really no room for egos and hard feelings, I think, when it comes to art. I mean, that doesn't mean they don't exist. They actually exist much more than they should, but there is no room for them. Rudy, I want to ask you about this one. So Benny Zen did a version of this one, Forgot More Than I Ever Knew. And as Andrew just mentioned, you did a version of this one as well. Why did you pick this one of all the tunes?
Well, the title already had a big appeal to me, and it was a song I felt comfortable with. So
when it comes to putting together your own arrangement of that, what's your process like for that? Like, do you just listen to the song on repeat as you play along with it and then get where you're going, or how do you approach it?
I sort of figure out the main key and the chords, and then I start from scratch because there's no point in reproducing it. So try to make my version.
Yeah, and your version, that's what's so interesting about it. And that's why I think, Andrew, that was one of your goals trying to put this together, I imagine. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's that everyone's interpretation of the tunes is going to be different. And so, yeah, maybe it's a collection of covers, but they're not going to sound anything really like the originals, hence the tribute. Tell me a little bit about that album, the Brazen Hussies tribute album. It's already out, right? Or is it coming soon?
It came out 2 days ago. Yeah. So that was kind of funny with saying figuring out the song. Some people wanted the chords, and I was asking Dave Queen, the guy who wrote the songs, and he really he struggled to remember the
I can imagine.
Yeah, he couldn't remember. I mean, he was bemused. One that I released. First of all, I released an anthology of them. I mean, when there's obscure, and then there's obscure, and then there's obscure, and then there's the Brazen Hussies. Even in their lifetime, they were very, very, very small band, but a massively talented band, but also a highly dysfunctional group of individuals. So, luck, circumstance, being highly dysfunctional, anyway, I did releasing that anthology was a nightmare to research, because people either couldn't remember, or the old manager had died, and the producer had died. He died in the process of me trying to find archive material and all kinds. It was a massive, really interesting project. Anyway, I did that, and the album, it's a brilliant album, but it completely tanked. And then I thought, what can I do to, I was just thinking about, and I think it was over a lockdown, and I just thought, well, why didn't I just ask the people if they'll do it? And and everyone I asked, bar maybe 2 people, said yes immediately, and they just did it with no fuss. And it's people I admire covering a band that I admire, that no one would have heard of, and probably due to the job that Jezus Factory does, maybe no one still will hear, but it exists in you just have to do these things, don't you? I mean, it's what else you gonna do,
If you don't do it, who will, right? That's
honest.
Kind of
a lot of things that I've done, if I don't do it, who will do it?
I think it's interesting that he couldn't remember the chords, because I'm not comparing myself at all. I'm a hobbyist musician at best, but I don't write down a single song that I make, so I don't know how to play any of my fucking songs. Rudy, you have a ton of songs. What's your process like for keeping them straight? Like, do you have like a notebook full of all the chords? You have all the changes written out somewhere, or?
No, I have lyrics, a couple of lyrics I kept over the years, and I have a good friend called, very talented guitar player called Elko Blijweert, and when I need to relearn a song, I go to him and he explains me how I did it.
Amazing. Everyone needs a friend like that. Let's listen to a little bit of this last one, Forgot More Than I Ever Knew by Benny Zen.
Such we say, a bit too much. Well, this is not what I envisioned. What's chaos was my religion.
And there you go. That is the mixtape. Do you guys have any quick honorable mentions? Any bands or artists who maybe you wanted to put on your mixtape but didn't have any room to put them in there? Rudy, anyone that you want to shout out here?
Elko Blijweert.
There it is. That's him. That's the guy. Andrew, what about you? Anyone you want to shout out here?
The whole back catalogue, really. Jeez.
It's always a tough one because I put people on the spot and they're like, well, what am I supposed to do? Say 50 names? Because you can't just say one or whatever. So, but why don't you just give us one? First one.
Yeah, Clue Perways, Bootsenzella, Suki Love, which that's an old band. I reissued their first album a while ago. That's an excellent record. Yeah, but just there's so much. It's overwhelming.
If the listeners and the viewers want to see Jesus Factory on the Jesus Factory website and Jesus Factory Bandcamp, that's where you can see all the honorable mentions, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Let's take a quick little break. When we come back, we're going to play a game, and then we will get the hell out of here. All right, for the game today, we're going to be blind ranking Belgian cities. This, I don't know anything about Belgian cities. I've only ever been to Belgium one time, but I did put some cities on this list. So we've got 6 cities. The way this works is I'm going to tell you the name of a city, and then you guys are going to rank it somewhere 1 through 6. Once it's locked in, it's locked in. It cannot be re-ranked. So let's start with a city that I had never heard of called, Rudy, correct me if I'm saying it incorrectly, but Mechelen, is that a place? Mechelen. So where is that one? 1 through 6. 1 is the best. 6 is the lowest out of these. Where would you put Mechelen?
A 4.
A 4, a solid 4. What is that city? How does it relate to Belgium in general?
Well, it's very close by Antwerp. It's like 15 minutes, 20 minutes drive. There's some culture over there, some shopping possibilities, some thrift stores. It's okay-ish.
But it's not like an arts mecca or anything.
No.
Next on the list, Liège. Andrew, have you been to Liège?
No, I don't think I have. But isn't that the name of that? Am I going mad? Isn't that the name of that Vivance album that I released for you? Or am I just... Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I released an album called that, so that's one of Rudy's. That's a brilliant album as well. Yeah.
Okay, so that's your experience with Liège. Rudy, why don't you go ahead and rank it then?
Liège is 3.
Okay, so Liège is 1 above. Okay, so you like Liège
definitely.
more.
Maybe even a 2, but let's go for a 3 to keep some space. No, it's a cool city. It's in the French-speaking part of Belgium. And yeah, there's a lot of underground things going on over there. Yeah, it's a cool city.
All right. I mean, hey, it's number 3, so that's high praise. That's pretty good. The next city, again, correct me if I'm saying this incorrectly, Leuven.
Leuven. Yeah.
Leuven. Okay, so what have you heard of this place? Have you been?
I've been there, worked for theater during 10, 20 years, and they were based in Leuven. But mostly it's a student town. So let's keep it a 4.
Well, 4's already taken. Mechelen's 4, so your only available
5.
options are 1. Oh, it's 5.
Too
Okay.
many students.
Okay, so right now the last ones that are left are 1, 2, and 6. So one of these next 3 is going to be the worst one. That's how you ranked it, not me.
Okay.
The next city is Bruges.
A 6.
Wow. Is there a reason that it's lower than the other ones?
It's mostly interesting as a historical city. It's very touristic. Very touristic. So, yeah.
Wow, so that's the downfall. Because I was going to say, I feel like that's what I always hear about is that it's historic and beautiful and it's a great place to go. But maybe culturally it is less interesting, maybe.
There's not much going on. It's there are a couple of interesting places, but mostly it's really functioning about tourism. And, well, it's nice to see, but that's it.
I feel like you may have done the perfect ranking because the last 2 that are left, one of them is Ghent. So where would you rank Ghent? You have 1 and 2 left.
A 2.
Okay, Ghent is 2. So you're obviously saving 1 because you think I'm going to say Antwerp, but
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm not. I
no
purposely,
Bummer!
no Antwerp. I purposely left it out because I knew you guys would think this. What you ended up ranking number 1, and I don't know if this is good or bad, is Brussels.
That's
Brussels
okay.
is the last one. That's okay. Okay, so what? Yeah, tell me about Ghent and about Brussels. Like, how do they relate to Antwerp?
Ghent is smaller, more provincial, but there's a lot of bands and there's a lot of things going on. Solwax is from there. Um, yeah, it's okay. And Brussels, there's a lot of there's a big jazz scene in Brussels, and there are many bars where you can play, and there's a lot of there are a couple of interesting things coming from Brussels. There's a lot of things going on. Yeah.
Of course, the one I left out, right? Like I said, is Antwerp, because Antwerp is basically tied to both of y'all, to all of your music. I felt it would be unfair to include it because it's obviously number 1. Andrew, tell me any thoughts on Antwerp, because I feel like I accidentally catered this segment towards Rudy, so I'll give you a second.
Well, no,
to tell me about your experience in Antwerp.
I mean, no Antwerp, no Jesus Factory. It's as simple as that. Clearly, it's a place that's. I mean, Rudy's far more qualified to talk about it than me, but clearly, it's a place that's allowed art for art's sake to flourish. Obviously, there's a lot of venues and decent record shops and a really good small collective of very creative people that seem to get on really well and make great art together. What can I say? It's and I will say it seems to have stayed in terms of artistically. All these guys are doing what they're doing now is as good as they've ever done, which is, you can't always say that.
Hey, I love it. I mean, I love any city that has a thriving underground and a thriving arts community. More and more these days, they're getting forced out by corporate interests and skyrocketing housing prices and all that. At least in America, that's the case. So I imagine it's
Europe
like
as
that
well.
everywhere.
Yeah.
So, keep on keeping on, keep making art. That's the best thing you can do. Let's real quick, why don't you guys tell the people where they can find you, what you've got coming up, what you're up to. And Andrew, let's start with you. Tell the people about where they can find what Jesus Factory's got going on.
So, in terms of the latest release, obviously in Belgium, it's distributed by Sonic Rendezvous, which is all the where you can find all Jesus Factory stuff. So I'd like to say that Brexit's been a nightmare, but Jesus Factory Records, all of our stuff is available in all good record shops in Europe. Obviously via ourselves as well. In the UK, Shell Shock distribute our stuff. So you should be able to at least hassle your local record store into getting it, but obviously I sell direct, but it's nice when people are getting it from record shops. Obviously the Facebook group and page, really I try and share as much of what I like that's going on in Belgium, so you can find that out. And actually Boots and Zeller's playing the UK, the Bird's Nest in Deptford on the 17th. So there is the occasional excursion to the UK. He's playing with another band, Ford's Fuzz Inferno.
Amazing. And then Rudy, what about you? What do you have going on, and where can people keep up with what you're working on?
My own name, Facebook. There's website, Heaven Hotel Presents. Yeah, that's it, I think.
All right. We'll have links to all of those things and more in the description. Listeners and viewers, as always, you can support what the Tape Club is doing at tapeclub.substack.com. Here is a little example, for the viewers at least, of one of the tapes that we made, the most recent one. This is the March 2026 Rue Defense Tape Club mixtape. Looks a little something like this. What we do for these is we source kind of song submissions from across the world, across the internet. People send in songs and we pick 10 to 12 of them. We throw them together on a cassette tape, make a very limited run cassette. 35 copies is what we're working with usually. So they are very limited run, physical only, no digital release. If you want to be a part of that, tapeclub.substack.com is where you can go and sign up. $5 a month gets you 4 of those tapes and then 8 random tapes a year. So you're going to get 12 tapes a year. We try to make it very affordable. Listeners, viewers, I want to first of all say thank you to Rudy and to Andrew for coming on, making this work. I know this is a transatlantic voyage we're on here today. I also want to say thank you to our associate producer, Alivia Stonier. And I want to say huge thank you to Jamie Halliday for helping with booking. As always, I will... I forgot how I close these out, but this one's over, and I'll see you next time. Peace. The J-Card podcast is a fully independent production. It is made possible by listeners and viewers just like you. So if you want to support us, tapeclub.substack.com is the place to go.